Good afternoon. Okay, a really good question this week came my way, and it was a person asking if you have applied and you have physical, mental, and or learning disabilities, so multiple kinds of impairments. How do you know which, I guess, impairments the SSA relied on in making this determination? Now, that would be a question whether you win or lose, but probably people are most concerned when they don't prevail and they want to know what the SSA saw or failed to see. So we do have this thing called a DDE, Disability Determination Explanation. Unfortunately, they don't provide it to us. The SSA has it. Now, when we have to take a case all the way to an ALJ hearing, once we appeal for that hearing, and if we're the kind of representative that has been provided the privilege of accessing the electronic records express, which I would like to think most of us do, we can go in and see what the DDE was on initial for you and on reconsideration. And that's where they're going to lay out everything they looked at, which can be helpful because, if something is missing that is a major impairment and you mentioned it and or you've been treating for it and it would be in those records and they may have just bypassed them, human error, it would be good to know because then you're going to drill it home on your appeal and make sure it doesn't get lost in the mix. So the DDE, Disability Determination Explanation, is going to generally, within all the little notes in there, explain what impairments were considered. They won't necessarily micro it down to, well, the third lumbar disc resulted in, him not being able to work constantly, but walk only frequently. They do it more broadly, like, well, he's got these impairments and we think he can only walk occasionally in an 8-hour day, that kind of thing. So yeah, you're not going to know. Now, if you're getting the decision from an ALJ after a hearing, then it's all laid out because the ALJ writes an entire decision that points out every little thing that needs to be pointed out in the law. The lower levels don't do that. And you've probably noticed when you got your denial, assuming it was a denial, they explain in like little canned language why you were denied. And half the time it doesn't make a lot of sense or it's so vague. I have a playlist on, I think it's like up to the 5 most prominent reasons why they deny and, how so often the reason for the denial does not mean you shouldn't appeal. I mean, they're so canned and so frequent and so rote that generally you're going to want to appeal unless you are now convinced due to your own physical or mental capacities that you've improved, that there is jobs you can do, maybe just not the one you had. Like if you have a change in your perception of how disabled you are now that you know a little bit more about the rules, absolutely, you want to appeal for the most part. There is some exceptions where I think a reapplication is a better move. It's very, very fact specific though for each case. But yeah, it would be nice if the SSA in the Electronic Records Express, I think I said before, once we get to ALJ hearing, we can see those DDEs as to why you were denied at both levels prior. But we can't get that till we get to the ALJ automatically. We can probably request it, but we might have to wait months for a response and it getting to us. So that can really vary because when you're trying to rely on, understaffed, overworked clerical staff in the SSA to send you a copy of something, that's not really on the top of their list, right? They're trying to get through the intake and the people that are showing up at the door. So it would be nice, hint, hint, SSA, if the SSA could now that the authorized representatives and attorneys like myself can get into the Electronic Records Express as soon as we're connected to a case, if it's on initial, recon, or ALJ level. But at the initial and recon, they limit us to section, I want to say E and F. Let's show it all out there. A, B. I know C is never shown, not even at the third stage. D, E, F. put it all out there. I don't know why that's not there. It doesn't make sense to me since we're going to get it in a few months anyway, if you continue to deny. So why halt this? If we could see that stuff readily, we could maybe see why the SSA made a different decision or determination than we would have made as the attorney that knows more about the case than the SSA, right? And knows more about the claimant. So it's really one thing that I would love to see the SSA change up and start being a little more transparent at the earlier stages. But for now, that's the way it is. So the DDE, the disability determination explanation, is in those files. They're in the ones that we're not allowed to see until you're already appealing up to a hearing. Makes no sense, right? And again, sometimes we can get it earlier, but usually that's kind of an exercise in frustration because you're going to ask for it. And if you get it, it might be months down the road and you're already now into the next appeal. So now you want the next DDE. So welcome to my world. But anyway, that's where you would find that information on initial or reconsideration. And if you have already gone to an ALJ hearing, you're going to find it laid out very explicitly in the decision. You're obviously not going to agree with it, but that's where you're going to find it. Okay. And that's where you're going to look to see if things are missing. I have another playlist on this. I think there's 3 videos in there right now about things to look for in your ALJ decision, because and you'll know real quick if there's something from that particular paragraph that you're going to appeal on, amongst possible other bases for appeal. Maybe I'll try to link those playlists. It'll do at the end. I think there's a button I could put for a playlist. So I'll put the ALJ denial reasons and the denial reasons you should always appeal down under 2 different playlists. All right. Hope that answers that question. Talk to you later. Bye.